Before we get into the podcast, make sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at This Strange World Podcast and on Twitter at This Strange Pod.
Welcome back to This Strange World. I'm Gavin.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Chris.
And today, Chris, you have something really cool, actually, that you are going to be telling us about. So what is your topic?
Yeah, this was probably one of the most amount of fun. The funnest.
We can do funnest. Yeah, funnest. Sure, that's not real, but like we can make it work.
This is the funnest podcast I think I've ever put together. The other one was Fallout 76. That was fun, but this one,
That was a good one.
this was a lot of fun to put together. So I'm really excited about showing this one. So I'm gonna be doing some weird Earth locations, phenomenons that happen on Earth that are, some people may know of them, some people may not, but these are all kind of things that are just weird. It's this strange world. It's kind of what I had in mind when we were pitching ideas and and we came up with This Strange World. This was kind of the podcast that I had in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you first said this idea of kind of weird natural phenomenons, I was like, that wasn't a one that came to mind, but I was like, oh, that's actually a really good idea. I'm sure there's so many natural phenomena that we can talk about, and I have zero idea what. I've not seen your list or anything, and I'm very excited to talk about. I feel like natural phenomenons aren't something you think about on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool because they're all these places are really hidden. Like a lot of these places, it's it takes an hour's hike to get to this point, or it's you can't see it from satellites. It's really cool. And I was thinking while I was putting this list together, I wonder how many I haven't found that are just out there that are way cooler than anything I put on this list. And I bet that there's some out there somewhere.
I mean, there's probably some that humanity hasn't even found.
The first one I'm gonna say is pretty cool.
How many are you talking about?
8 things.
Okay.
8,
Cool.
9 things. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I could have probably found more, but
I'm sure there's more. And if people like this, we can always make another one.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's more than 9 weird natural phenomena in the world.
All right. So the first place on my list that I'm going to talk about. So in Minnesota, on the outskirts of Lake Superior, there's a river called the Plural River. At one point, the river forks into 2 streams. One stream goes over a waterfall and flows down into Lake Superior, so normal waterfall behavior. The other side of the stream goes into a hole, and at this point, the water is never seen again. It just disappears. And this point, so it's called the Devil's Kettle. And one thing to point out, the reason that it's called a kettle is because this is the term used to describe a rocky pothole that water flows into. It's essentially a big hole filled with water, but it's formed when a rock gets trapped in a softer depression and it swirls around and keeps digging a hole into this rock. And so this is a perfectly normal behavior for rivers, especially in Minnesota. Minnesota is a state full of holes and full of these kettles. But what's weird about kettles is they don't normally turn into miles of underground tunnels. And another weird thing about Devil's Kettle is this would be very normal if the rock was made of limestone, which is a much softer rock. But the kettle is made of rhyolite, which is a much harder rock made from volcanic rock. And scientists have tried everything to figure out what's going on in Devil's Kettle. They've thrown ping pong balls down. They've tried dyeing the water. They've thrown GPS trackers down in the water. They've thrown logs. None of the items were ever seen again.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, really creepy.
So is it just it's kind of just an endless, if you look down at the water is just going into a big hole, but you can't see the bottom?
Well, you can see the water kind of bubbling at the surface, but no one knows where the water goes. If someone just dug a hole into the ground and water filled it up, it would fill up and then it would just keep flowing down. But the water doesn't fill up the hole, which means that there's a big opening at the bottom that this is half a river.
Mm-hmm.
Half the river goes into this hole and doesn't come back out. So people are like,
where'd you say this was?
water
Lake
going?"
Superior, did you say?
Yeah, so half the river goes into Lake Superior. The other half, no one knows where it goes.
I've seen a photo of that, I think. I think I know honestly exactly what you're talking about. And I've it's actually really interesting. I feel like it'd be really cool if they could send a GoPro or something down there just to see hey, what's up? What's causing this phenomenon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like That's the kind of thing that like someone would send a GoPro down on like a string, and then they would pull the string back up, and there'd be no GoPro. Like that, it'd be like, what?
You lost
What's
the
going on down
footage.
there?
Like some horror movie.
But yeah, it's weird. It just sounds like a geologic, it's geological a word? That's not a word.
Mhm.
Geographical. I don't know. Like
Phenomenon.
the Earth, just like a phenomenon. Just a
A
weird occurrence.
Earth phenomenon.
But it sounds like then it's been like over time of like erosion almost, but of water. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't really know a lot of those terms. Probably should. I guess I don't remember like 8th grade science.
So there's a few theories about what's going on here. The first theory is that people think that the waterfall might sit on top of a fault line, and that the kettle bore all its way, like the rock that was making the kettle bore all its way down into the fault line, and so like the river just hit that fault line and just kept flowing down. But the counter to that theory is that it's not just a trickle of water disappearing, it's like half an entire river. So the fault line would have to be massive in order to fit all of this water to go down. And there's also no evidence of a fault line anywhere near the river. So that theory doesn't work. There's a second theory that the water found its way into a lava tube, meaning that millions of years ago, when lava was flowing through Minnesota, that it would flow underground until finally, eventually, the lava just cooled down and kind of left this empty tunnel underground. And so people think that the rock might have bore all its way down and the water just hit the lava tube and then just flows that way, which would make sense if the rock wasn't rhyolite, because the downside of this theory is that rhyolite, which is what the kettle is made of, doesn't normally cause lava tubes. So that theory doesn't work. So people are like, what's going on here?
Wait, so do they actually know how it is happening, or is it like an unsolved? Like, do people not know?
So it's funny that you say that, because there was one source, I'll get into the sources later, but there was one source that when that video was made, there was no answer to what happened. But there was another source that came out like earlier last year that they finally think that they figured out what's going on with Devil's Kettle. Recently, one scientist thinks that they found the answer to Devil's Kettle, and personally, I think it's probably the most convincing argument of all of the theories. And what he did was he measured the volume of water going into Devil's Kettle, like from both the ends of the river, and then the water going into Lake Superior. And he said that the water was close enough to conclude that the water goes to the same place. And so he thinks that there must have been a small like detour that the rock carved out in the kettle. So like a little tunnel that the water just kind of goes into this small tunnel and then leaves and then just joins the river again, like down the stream, and they just join. But that raises the question, what about all the stuff that they threw in the water? So like they threw ping pong balls, dyes, GPS trackers, like what happened to all that stuff? And
Maybe there's like numerous tunnels.
he thinks that when those objects hit the bottom of the kettle, the water pressure and the rocks that are in the kettle and everything just obliterated anything that went into that bowl, and destroying each item before they even had a chance to escape like down the river.
But like my question is like, even if it went into the lake, then wouldn't it like kind of fill up, because you're having water from one source, water from another source. The water from the one source is going to the other source, but wouldn't it kind of like fill it up on both sides and meet in quote unquote the middle?
Well, that's like, I think the whole thing about it is that the fact that it doesn't like fill up the hole, that it like keeps going.
It just keeps going.
Yeah, so that's why I'm thinking there's something else as well. So I can see that what that person stated, how that is possible, but I also think that there's something else that's missing in the equation.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't. It's weird that like to think that everything gets obliterated at the bottom, because that is a good point of like, where does it go? But I mean, if it's like a rushing, rapid, like river, like hardcore, and especially also if it's a long kind of underground tunnel of tossing and turning logs and ping pong balls, and by the time they pop out, they don't even look like what you sent them. Or if it's like electronics, like a GPS tracker, like it, like you said, like just gets obliterated.
It just gets crushed. Right.
That's interesting. I think we have to, for all of these, we're gonna have to do a sequel episode where we go to these places and figure it out ourselves.
And actually jump inside of Devil's Kettle and find out for ourselves what happens to the water.
Exactly.
I mean, you two have fun. I'll watch from a safe distance.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
could
a
be the
water-
one recording it from like up on the side.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that'll be my job.
Okay, so the next location on my list sits in a quiet town in England known as Buxton, and this town is home to a very crystal bluish turquoise lagoon known as the Blue Lagoon of Buxton. And this water looks like it's straight out of the Caribbean, which is weird considering it's in the middle of the English countryside. And tourists every year go swimming in this blue lagoon. But they should probably read the signs before they go swimming in the Blue Lagoon. And the reason for this is because the lagoon sits in an old abandoned limestone quarry that has been filled in with this beautiful Caribbean-esque style water. Like, it looks gorgeous. I've seen pictures of this place. It looks beautiful. But it's
Mhm.
littered around the sides of the cliffs that say, like, warning, this water is known to contain pollution, rubbish, dead animals, car wrecks, and another sign that says the lagoon has a pH level of 11.2. So to give you an idea of how high this pH level is, normal water has a normal pH level of 7. The Blue Lagoon has a pH level of 11.2. Ammonia has a pH level of 11.3. Bleach has a pH level of 12.6. So swimming in this lagoon is like swimming in ammonia or like swimming in bleach.
Swim at your own risk, man.
It's that bad for you.
While you were just saying all those numbers, I could watch on the screen Leah and my eyes just like glossing over as you're like just saying numbers and pH levels, and we're just like,
That's why I was trying to
uh-huh.
set it up.
Wow,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Smart water left that. Wow. Or like, it's like, is it like we're swimming in smart water? Isn't smart water like their whole thing pH levels or something?
Yeah, but it's probably like a pH level of like 7 something. Like, you don't really want to drink a lot of
Probably.
alkaline waters, or like
Yeah, nothing too
That's
high,
true.
nothing too low.
What did you say the pH level of the Blue Lagoon is?
11.2,
And what did you say the pH level of bleach is? 12?
12.6.
Well, that's not
And
great.
well, and 7 is regular water, so
Yeah,
have
that's
fun
a
with
pretty
that one.
big difference. I thought you were going to be like, the sign said like the water's radioactive or something like
Oh,
that.
kinda.
I mean, yeah, in a sense. And there's something wrong with the water.
The locals needed to think of some reason to stop people from swimming in this lagoon because of it's really bad for you, and it would cause like
Yes.
eye irritation, skin irritation. It would cause like
Mhm.
hair loss, like just not good things for a person to swim
Mhm.
in. And one idea that they thought was they should just drain the water from the lagoon. But the problem with that is because over time it would fill up back up with rainwater, and it would just fill back up. Like, the reason it filled up in the first place was because of water that got in. So it's just, you just have to keep pumping it out, which is expensive. Another idea they had was to fill it with dirt, but that would be like an insanely large and expensive job to complete. So there was only one other way that they could think to stop people from swimming in the lagoon. And I don't know if you guys want me to say it or if you guys want to guess it.
I'll guess it. I also have another question before we even guess that. So the problem with the lagoon, then it's not theoretically the water. Is it like the quarry itself is what makes the water the high pH level?
I thought that. And I did a little research on why it is. It's either the pollution that's in there, like there's a lot of bad stuff that's in there, like it's basically just
Yeah.
a garbage pile with pretty water,
Mm-hmm.
or it could be the limestone. I have no idea. At first, I thought it was a limestone, but I'm not a geologist, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, in terms of not having people swim in there, Leah, do you have a guess
That's like how they would stop.
how they would stop?
Like sand, right?
Just fill it with sand.
Oh, I was gonna say something of like, there's something more with signs or like almost spread rumors about it, or have like the news be like, this Blue Lagoon will like kill you,
But
man.
they have the signs. People are currently disregarding the signs, I think, right, Chris?
That's a good
Isn't
point.
that what
Yeah.
you said?
Yeah, they read the
So,
signs.
like-
Like, they're pretty well posted. Yeah.
Because, like, also kind of going off topic, but has the same kind of connection, is that the Glee actress that had passed away, that lake
Mhm.
that she was found in was notorious for just the undertow and the, like, the gravity of the undertow. So basically there were signs that were put up like, don't swim here, and like even the locals knew not to swim there. But so I guess the signs
Did they-
obviously wouldn't do anything.
Did they dye the water green or something?
Gavin is really close. They did dye the water. They
Black.
dyed
Oh,
it black.
They dyed it black. Oh.
They dyed the water black. And so they did that because they wanted to make it look like a pit of death and like a pit of despair and
Yeah.
just gross. You don't want to swim in black water.
That's why I
And-
said green, because I feel like people wouldn't want to swim in green water.
I wouldn't swim in black water just because like all the dye.
Didn't you say that this was like a crystal clear lake to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
It
mean,
was
yeah,
like-
going from like the crystal clear lake to like all black,
All
people
black.
are going to be like,
Makes
what's up
people
with
not
that?
want to go. And it worked.
Yeah.
People stopped swimming in the lagoon. But
Oh.
there's a problem with this plan. They did this back in 2013, and over time,
Mhm.
if you've ever dyed anything, dye starts to go away.
Other way.
So at this point, since I got my source, whenever my source was writing their thing, they said the lagoon has since returned back to the old color that it once had. So now it's back to
Mhm.
being this blue, crystal, amazing lake, and it's only a matter of time before people start to jump in the water again.
Maybe
Because
put
they
some
don't
like
mind.
octopus or squid in there, or
Well, I
Or
mean, who
some
knows if animals can like
piranhas or
survive
something.
in that pH level? Like, what if
yeah,
the
that's
animals
true.
die?
That was the thing. Yeah,
But also,
yeah.
why don't they just dye it again?
They probably did. I'm sure
They
they
probably
did.
did or will.
I'm sure they
But,
did.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So my third location that I have is off the coast of Belize.
Oh, good, more water.
Oh yeah, yeah. More. The next one after this is water too. So
Oh my God,
off the coast
great.
of Belize, in an area known as Lighthouse Reef, there lies a gigantic hole in the center of the reef called the Great Blue Hole. And you
Mhm.
can see this area clearly if you're close to it, or I think you can see it from space, I think, but I don't know if it's big enough to see it from space. I know there's one on my list that you can see from space. I don't know if it's this one.
Belize.
Of Belize,
Okay.
yeah. So that's kind of
Mhm.
in the Caribbean, I think. Yeah.
Are all of
So-
these going to be about blue water?
No, actually, funny they say that. The next one's actually the opposite of blue water. So
Light blue water. I'm
Dark
just
blue
kidding.
water.
Continue. I'm so
So-
sorry.
So the surrounding area is this clean and pristine light blue Caribbean water, kind of like the Buxton Lagoon, but only to have it drop off in the center of this with this deep dark blue circle just dropping down. So because it drops down so much, it's a popular spot for scuba divers and free divers because the hole descends 410 feet straight down into the abyss. So it goes from like a regular like 12 feet deep, whatever, to 410 just dropping straight down. And
Oh
the
my
reason it
goodness.
drops so far and so deep. There's some people that actually go into this hole without any scuba gear, and they're called free divers. And what they do
Mhm.
is
Oh
they
my
sit at the top of the ocean and they inhale, like they get their lungs grow to be like this. They look like a watermelon.
Yeah, we all inhale.
Yeah. Well, no, they inhale like enough to make your chest actually look like your chest is pregnant because
Oh,
it's
that's
just
crazy.
air.
Oh
And
my
then
goodness.
they dive straight down. And there's like, I don't know what the record is, but there's a guy that did this in the ocean. And it was like, in one breath, he went like further down than like most scuba divers do with a
Mhm.
tank on their
I
back.
know the guy that you're talking about.
Yeah. And
my
so
goodness.
But
I
yeah.
bet he did it here. So there's a lot of people that free dive in this place.
They like swallow air. They have to like
Yeah.
gulp it and then swallow it, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's so weird. I think I've seen this spot before, and I just looked it up. And like looking at it, it's weird because like on the light blue part, like surrounding it, you can kind of see the ground, and you could see like the kind of corally sand looking ground in the water, and then
Mhm.
like just the circle of dark blue that's just like dark and down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How much deeper? Like compare that to the Mariana Trench. What's the difference?
Gee, the Mariana Trench is deeper than Mount Everest is tall.
Oh, that's
That's
is
fine.
that like the
Okay.
deepest part of the
30,000 feet.
ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that we know of. Yeah.
Yeah.
So far.
I feel like all the scariest things are like in the deep depths of the ocean. Is
Mhm.
where like all the scariest stuff is.
Yeah. Yeah. They have weird fish down there.
Because that's where they'll
Weird.
find like these weird like bones of like some crazy animal, and like there's still so much of the ocean that we haven't explored.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
feel like
God,
we
I'd
could do a
love to
whole
see this.
episode about ocean stuff. Although I feel like a lot of this stuff is
Yeah.
also kind of some of those things. But
Mhm.
maybe we'll do an episode on ocean, weird things found in the ocean. I might do that. That's a good idea. I'm going to stop talking because I'm going to do that in an episode.
Weird things from the ocean.
We're pitching ideas right now during our podcast
Yeah.
episode, but hey,
Yeah.
you
I'm
never
going
know.
to stop talking because I'll save it for the episode anyway. So, please continue.
All right. So the reason that the hole goes down so deep is because like hundreds of thousands of years ago, the area that is now the blue hole was once like levels of caves and like cave systems that would go down like a bunch of different levels. And each level would fill up with water, like water would trickle down. And eventually there would be like a sinkhole and each level would collapse into each other until it reached the bottom. So it was like boom, 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 and then caves. So it was a cave system, and that all just collapsed into one huge sinkhole that went down 410 feet.
Oh, so you're
That's
saying at one point there
creepy.
just wasn't, it was
There
like land
wasn't a blue hole. No, it just fell. Like,
or like
the
caves.
water collapsed it.
Oh.
Yeah, and it filled up with water.
Do you know when that happened?
Over time, hundreds of thousands of years ago, it was just caves, and then now it's a blue hole for us to
That's
enjoy.
That's
interesting.
creepy. That's why I don't like the ocean. Everyone's like, "Oh, I love the beach," and I'm just like, "Nah, I prefer a pool because there are no strange animals and
That's what I'm
stuff in the
saying.
ocean."
It's scary. The ocean's, it's also
It's
dark.
scary.
It's dark
Mhm.
and scary.
It's scary, guys. Like zoinks.
Scary. Like, whoa. Like the ocean's scary.
That was really good.
Thank you so much.
That was
That was
really good.
actually, I think Shaggy's on the line. Anyway.
All right, moving on. Next one.
Okay. So the next location is one of my favorites on this list, just because I know, Leah, you're gonna get a kick out of this because you like
Where are we at?
aliens.
Is this number 4?
This is number 1, 2, 4. Number 4. So the next location, it's my favorite, not because of what it means like for our world, but it tells us what alien life could look like in the universe. This location
Was it
tells
black
us
holes? Oh wait, no. Well, no,
Huh?
no, never mind. Nothing. I was guessing what it would be before.
You about to find out. You about to find out. In Antarctica, there lies a glacier where a 5-story waterfall is pouring out a blood red substance, and this is called blood falls. So it's
I've heard
bloody
of
red
that.
water. You've heard of this before?
Oh, I
Mhm.
don't think I've heard of this.
So the reason that the water's red is the same reason that our blood is red, is that there's a lot of iron in it. And when the iron gets into the air, it turns it blood red. And there's another reason why it's also blood red, is because around 5 million years ago, Antarctica was the same climate as Southern California. Like, it was very warm, and the water was a lot higher. The sea levels were a lot higher than they were now, and it was a lot warmer there than it was now. And water flowed into this region and filled up that part of Antarctica. And then around 3 million years ago, Antarctica froze and the glaciers formed over that area that the seawater was in. And this trapped the water along with all the bacterial and microbial life that was in there. And the person who made a really good video about this topic that I'm getting some information from he said it was like taking your goldfish bowl and then sealing it for 2 million years and then seeing what happens when you take the cover off. And that's what this falls are in Antarctica.
So this is
That's
because it's like everything's melting
disgusting.
that now these falls exist?
It's kind of like that, but it's also fissures. Like, there's fissures in the glacier that allows some water to get out. Maybe it was because it was warming up. I'm not sure. But they said that the source of this waterfall is thought by scientists to be a brine lake, and a brine lake is a lake that's too salty to freeze. So when the glaciers formed over, the water didn't freeze, so the organisms that were living in the water didn't die.
Ah.
The organisms that were living there millions of years ago are still alive, and they're still living there. So they're millions of years old bacteria and organisms that are living in the water. And the reason that they're still alive is a little complicated, and I'm going to try to get this through the best way that I can. I don't fully understand. I'll try to get through it. So there were little particles in the lake that were made of it was a sulfide, so it was iron, oxygen, and sulfur that were bonded together. And the microbes would break these particles apart take in the oxygen, and then release the iron. And then the iron would then attach themselves to other particles, essentially making like an everlasting food source that will last millions of years because the iron just attaches to something else and then they go and eat that and then it just keeps going around. So the conditions that are in these blood falls is sort of the same conditions that we find on other planets. And this tells scientists that alien life can live in really crazy extreme environments that we once thought were impossible. So now we're looking at planets like, wow, this is really crazy. We would never think life would live here. But now we know that life could live there. So it's kind of cool that we're like seeing like a really alien life form on our Earth. Like this lives in crazy conditions, so why not life living in other places?
Yeah. Do you know if
That's
these blood
interesting.
falls are still like are they is it still going? Like that there's still
Yeah.
water pouring out of it?
Yeah, from what I think of, I think it's still pouring out. Yeah, the water is
Oh,
still
that's so
coming out.
interesting.
It's like blood. It's really weird. You'll be walking.
I just looked up a picture of it. It genuinely looks like blood,
Yeah,
especially over like the white snow.
When I first saw the picture, I was like, wait, is something dead inside? And is it just like, it kind of looks like almost it's like, I thought when I first saw it, there was like a seal that had died or something, and that was like
Yeah.
the blood, but like, okay, let's,
It's the exactly is what it sounds like when it says blood falls. That's exactly it. That's exactly what it
Yeah.
looks like.
blood falls.
A blood waterfall.
That's
Lovely.
cool. I
That's
like
cool.
it.
That is a weird natural phenomenon. That
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
I could have never thought of something like that because we've talked about like the water, but like that's a whole. I'm not thinking about red water. Like
It's red water, baby.
in Antarctica, like in Antarctica, of like all
In
places.
Antarctica, yeah.
I
Wow.
feel like there's some really kind of like cool hidden things up there and down there. It's just like, because like it's all frozen. Like, so.
Yeah, there's
you could
definitely some stuff
uncover-
in Antarctica that we don't know about.
Exactly. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next location goes out to all the Lucifer fans out there.
Not a sponsor.
Hey, Lucifer Netflix, want to sponsor us?
So it's not a Lucifer reference because I was trying to be funny, but the next location is known as the Gateway to Hell. This one's kind of cool. So it's
Ooh.
actually a funny story. So in the middle of the desert in Turkmenistan, there exists a 230-foot wide hole that's on fire. And it's a pretty funny story how it happened. In 1971, Soviet geologists were looking for petroleum in the sands of the desert, and they came across this area that they thought was rich with petroleum. So they set up a drilling rig and everything, and they started digging, and they ended up stumbling upon a gigantic cavern of natural gas. And when they hit the cavern, the entire thing collapsed, taking the drilling rig with it and making this 230-foot wide hole that was leaking. And so this is so also, unfortunately for the Soviets, the gas that they hit was methane gas, which is highly explosive. So it started to leak through the hole that they had.
Oh,
so in order to fix this mistake, they thought the best thing to do was to light it on fire. So they lit
Oh my god! Are you serious?
So they lit the hole, and they were thinking that it was gonna, in like a few weeks, maybe a few months, maybe a few years, whatever, that the hole was gonna burn itself out. Well, the hole has now been burning for almost 50 years, and there's no signs that will ever slow down anytime soon. So the hole was literally just on fire since 1971.
I've heard of this too.
1971. Wow. Yeah, I've heard of this one, and I just looked up a picture of it, and it's yeah, it's. I feel like this almost isn't like this is an interesting one and different from the other ones because it's also kind of man-made accidentally.
Right.
Like it wouldn't have happened without a little push. It wasn't on purpose. Like they didn't think this whole thing would happen. But first of all, for the whole thing to collapse, to make the hole, was people. And then being like, let's just toss a match in it. Like it'll just burn out all the gas away and it'll all be good. It's just a big hole. But the fact that it's producing this natural gas, like, yeah. And I'm sure also, like, I'm sure that natural gas is expensive. Like, I'm sure that natural gas could have been used for something.
Right.
Didn't they know, like, gas is usually very flammable?
Well, this
Well,
was
that's
the
why they lit it on
70s.
fire.
That's
They
why
thought
they lit it on fire, because they knew it was flammable. So we're gonna be like, oh, it's flammable. We're gonna light this stuff
Did they
on
think
fire.
it was just gonna all go up and then extinguish
Yeah,
itself, like run
they
out of
thought it was
gas?
going to extinguish itself, but
Surprise!
it's
I'm
been on
alive,
fire
and I'm still alive, man.
for.
Jeez,
So there's a burning hole of fire in the middle of a desert somewhere that's just on fire. And
Turkmenistan.
yeah, so Turkmenistan actually I'm going off script here a little bit. Off script.
Off script.
They are really embarrassed about this fire for obvious reasons because it was caused by really stupid people that were like,
But it wasn't their people, was it? I thought
no, it was the Soviets, but I think they were. I don't know. I don't want to be a history guy. Someone's gonna yell at me.
at the time they might have been a Soviet turn.
Were they? I don't know if they were.
We're not geography people. Soviets. Classic Soviets.
They should have had a topographic map of like underneath, and then you would have been like, "Oh shoot, maybe we should just dip like right
Yeah.
now
Maybe not dig
and
here.
not light things on fire."
Yeah, yeah.
Well, hindsight is 2020.
Well, they wanted to fill it up, but people started to come to this place, and it was a big tourist attraction. So now, like, they keep advertising, like, "Hey, we lit a hole on fire," but it was like just to bring more people into the country. But they were like really embarrassed about it in the first place, and they tried to cover it up, like cover up the hole and everything.
That's a hard thing to cover up. It's a pretty big hole.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on fire.
It's kind of like the oil spill and stuff. The one from, what was it, 2000 something, and then the one now currently that happened.
Yeah, the BP.
Want to cover that stuff up? Yeah, but that was like 2000. What?
Something within the past 20 years. I don't know the exact year.
I want to say 8, but I don't think so. But now
I think
there's like
something like
another
that.
oil. But now there's
Yeah,
another oil spill, and they want to cover it up, but you're not gonna because
there's always
oil.
oil spill. Big companies are always doing something or another. But this big hole in the ground, the weird thing about it is that it's like so precise. It's not like it's like kind of a ramp. It's just like a hole in the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
got
just
sharp
a hole
edges.
in the ground.
It literally kind of looks like a lava pit almost.
Yeah.
It does. It looks like I kind of want to swim in it. Like it kind of looks aesthetically pleasing. You know those lava videos that like it just looks like it's like almost like sludgy and like kind of like honey. Like you just want to like dip your toes in it. That's what this kind of looks like.
Forbidden hot tub.
But like,
Yeah,
imagine,
it does look like no. This would be a hot tub.
Did it get like bigger as time went on, or as
I think
did it?
the cavern that they dug into was huge, and
Yeah.
so all you got to do is, if you've ever built a tunnel at the beach and there's a big hole underneath, all you got to do is just kind of dig one little bit and the whole thing just collapses.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just enough that the whole thing just falls down, and that's what happened to them. Is they started to drill into this cavern and they hit it just right, like in the center, and then the whole thing just fell down, and the whole cavern.
I feel like it probably hasn't gotten bigger because I don't think the pit itself is on fire. I think it's the gas that it's producing. So I wonder if it's almost like an illusion that like it looks like it's on fire. I mean, it is on fire, but it's more like the gas that is naturally being created from it as opposed to the ground itself, which is probably also why then it's like kind of self-contained. It doesn't like spread. I mean, it's the desert, like you said, there's no like trees around or anything to spread it to. But yeah, I wonder if it has gotten bigger.
If they want to like extinguish it, they should just put sand over it or flour or dirt, because you don't
That's your
ever
second
want to
suggestion to cover something up is to put sand in it. You said that also about the lake, the Blue Lagoon. You said to put sand in it.
No, but like if something is ever on fire, you don't want to use water because you're just kind of feeding it. Unless it's a really small, kind of controlled flame, which this does not look like a really small.
This does not look controlled
flame.
No.
Then just use some flour or something, and voila.
Yeah, I mean, from it sounds like at this point, from like a tourism perspective, that this doesn't. I mean, I don't know why anyone else would want to go to Turkmenistan. Besides, like, I don't know if it might have some beautiful scenery or whatever, but I feel like this is definitely probably a big tourist attraction. But I wonder if it will ever eventually go out. What if one day just kind of fizzles out? That would be kind of interesting.
And then now they're just stuck with a big hole in the ground.
And then they're like, well, poop. Now we just have a big hole in the ground that used
This
to be.
world is so creepy.
It is.
All right.
Let's move on to number 6. Is it now? Are we on number 6?
I lost count.
It's okay. We'll just move on to the next one.
Yeah. So this one's really cool. This is also one of my favorite ones. In Venezuela, on the banks of the Catatumbo River, there lies a region that is considered to be the most electric place on Earth. To be more specific, there's a lightning storm that seemingly never ends. I say seemingly because while it's not continuous, it happens almost 300 days in a year and upwards of 10 hours every time there's a storm. So 10-hour storm, 300 days a year. Lightning just going crazy. Sometimes at its peak, there's one lightning strike per second, and it's not uncommon to see 300 lightning strikes per hour.
Where did you say this was?
This is on the banks of the Catatumbo River in Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela.
Oh my goodness.
If you look up a photo, Gavin, it looks really cool, actually.
Yeah, look up Catatumbo lightning.
Kind of looked like you could take an image and you'd see like 50 plus lightning rods, bolts, whatever.
Oh, that
in
is
a photo.
wild.
Yeah.
That is crazy. Yeah. I feel like
Yeah.
I wonder what it would be like to live here, because recently on the northeast of the United States,
Mhm.
we not even all of the northeast. Like you didn't even get hit in Massachusetts, Chris, did you?
By the hurricane?
Yeah.
Mhm.
We got wind.
Did you get? Okay.
We didn't get any
So,
rain.
We
like, I
got
guess
wind.
on some of the northeast, it was a lot closer to like the tri-state area that like we got hit with a storm. It was like an hour long. We were without power for like almost a week, maybe a week.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But like having lightning storms, 300, like possibly 300 out of 365 days of the year. Like I wonder if people even live here. Like you see it over water. How could you live near water if there's all these lightning strikes going into like the water?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They're actually really proud of this lightning storm, the locals that are there,
Mhm.
because the region was actually saved by lightning twice in its history from invaders. Once in the 1500s and again in the 1800s, when the flashes of lightning revealed to the natives the enemy ships that were coming towards them. So the ships would try to sail and attack them using the cover of darkness, and the lightning would give away their position because they could see him in the flashes.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
Chris, you know me. You know I hate thunder and lightning. So
Mhm.
that would not be
So
the
you
place
would
for
love
me.
to visit this place with me one day.
You would not.
Oh yeah, that's like number one on my bucket list of things to do. It's just like go here and see this lightning.
The flag of the town is like, and like the coat of arms, like that whole area, it's like a sun with like a lightning bolt through it.
Yeah,
Which
they're really
is
proud
this
of it.
quite the flag of Zulia, quite possibly the coolest flag I've ever seen. That's crazy. It's mentioned in the state's anthem. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia of this now. That's crazy. Like their whole thing is like lightning.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
that's what
really
I saw, yeah.
sick.
I was watching videos of this when I was doing my research, and the videos that come out of this place, people would, shoot at night these thunderstorms that would happen, and it's just crazy. It's like every flash it's like every second there's a flash going off somewhere. Sometimes there's multiple, sometimes there's like 10 going on at once. Sometimes there's like 50 going on at once. It's crazy how much lightning comes out of this place.
Yeah. However, I think I said the wrong numbers earlier. I think I misspoke. It's not 300 days a year. Is that wrong? I think I was wrong. Because it says it's
300
only
days a
like,
year.
this says it's like 140 to 160 nights a year.
Yeah, so I got that too. There was one that said every other day. There was one
Or
that
do
said
they just,
300
is it
days.
all kind of like different depending on where you look at it?
I think. Yeah. I
Alright.
just said 300 because it sounded cooler. But yeah,
I
I
mean,
saw those
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Dang, that's wild. This is like Zeus level, like Zeus is mad.
Zeus
It's
did
crazy.
a strike, man. He
Definitely look
hit a
this
home
up.
run.
Catatumbo lightning in Venezuela. That's crazy. That's
And-
that's a weird natural phenomenon.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I've ever
It's
heard of.
crazy. And the reason behind it is because it's mostly because of the geography of the region. So the lake is surrounded by huge mountains that trap the warm air from the ocean. So the ocean air comes in during the day, and then the mountains trap that warm air in the valley. And then at night, the cold air from the mountains mixes with the warm air, creating like the perfect mixture for a lightning storm. And this has been happening for like hundreds of years. Every single year for hundreds of years, there's been Or I guess as long as the region's been around, there's probably been lightning going on.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah, that's really interesting and really pretty, but
Well, this is another one of the places that we have to go to then to experience it on our tour.
I will watch from a very far distance. You two have it.
You'll watch from like
have
a
fun.
car that has tires so that you're like all good if we get electrocuted.
Yeah.
I'll watch from a bouncy house, bouncy castle, whatever you name it.
Well, I don't know. Would that be good or would that be bad? I mean, it's rubber.
I thought it would be good.
Bouncy castle?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, this will be on our tour of traveling the world to find weird natural phenomenons. We'll pitch a
Well,
show to the Travel Channel.
If we go, we should have protection because it's kind of one of the most dangerous places in the world.
I'm sure. I'm sure it is.
Not because of the lightning. I'm saying because of crime.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
There was a source that I was looking at that the guy was that he was going to go and visit this lightning place, and then the locals said, "It's fine. We'll be okay. We'll bring the guns." Because they'll fight off the bandits if they ever try to attack them.
I mean, I feel like that is a good place to rob. If you were a robber, which I'm not a robber, but if you were a robber, I feel like it would be a good place to rob someone because they're too busy, like distracted by the lightning. You'll catch them off guard. They're probably already scared. They're at their weak point. Not that I'm not a robber. To clarify, but
none of us are. But
no, none of us are robbers. For legal
we're
reasons,
innocent students.
For legal reasons, we're not robbers.
No, none of us are robbers. Link. No.
So if you're ever getting robbed, just say no, because the robber cannot legally take any of your stuff without your permission. So just say no if you're getting robbed.
Yeah, like that'll work.
I feel like if you were robbing by these lightning storms and stuff, like the first few times you're like being brought into it, you're gonna get like caught off guard. Like you're gonna be like hand almost in some rich guy's pocket. Lightning goes off and you like freak out. Like definitely the first few times that you are pickpocketing in these storms, you're taken a little bit off guard. I'm sure. It's probably also not pickpocketers, like you said. You got to bring guns, so I'm sure it's probably worse crime. If anyone's listening from Venezuela, let us know what's up.
It's like kidnapping for ransom.
Let Gavin know.
Let me know. I'm curious.
Let Gavin know. All right. Next place.
This place that I'm going to talk about isn't a natural phenomenon, but I added it to the list because it's kind of really cool.
Blasphemy. I came here for weird natural phenomenons.
I think if I'm making the topic, I can bend the rules a little bit.
That's fair.
It's really cool. So it's in Grand Central Station in New York City, and there's a section of the terminal that the architecture design creates a strange auditory phenomenon. So it is a phenomenon.
Oh, I love this. Yeah.
Leah can probably describe this better than me, but there's a spot in the terminal where the architecture arches, and it's in these arches where if you whisper or talk or make any sound at all, the noise moves up the wall, dissipates up the arch, moves to the other side of the arch, and goes into the person that's standing in the other corner. So that means you can whisper in one corner of the wall, and the other person can hear you as if they're right next to you.
Yeah.
That's definitely a cool phenomenon.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But,
my friend showed it to me there when we went into the city for the day. He was like, "Yo, Leah, come here." And Dylan took me there, and he was like, "Okay, stand right here." And I'm like, "What are you doing? Why are you making me stand in a corner, facing the corner?" I was like, "Am I in trouble, dude?"
He's like, "No, the corner."
He's like, "Just wait." So he goes to the other side, and he whispers, and I'm like, "Whoa, I could hear you." What? And it was like really insane. It only works in 2 out of the 4 corners, just because architectural reasons. But I thought it was really cool. I think Chris, you and I tried this out as well, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I feel like that's also like one of those, like, I don't know if there might be like a plaque there, but it's not like there's signs. It's not like that's a known thing, Grand Central. But I think I've also seen those types of things in like museums and like different architecture of like that whole whispering concept and like the way that the sound travels. But I wonder if there's any examples of that as kind of like a weird natural phenomenon or something. I'm sure somewhere in the world there must be some sort of structure or cave where like that whisper, like something. I wonder if there's something out there like that. If you know of it, let us know. Leave a comment, DM us. Let us know. I'm very curious, and I'm now willing to do my research. I want to hear it from you, the people. But yeah, that's a good one. It's not natural, but that's definitely a weird phenomenon.
Yeah, that was not natural, but well, okay, so now
Yeah.
the
I'll
next
take
one is natural, so we can
Oh,
give
all
me a little
natural.
bit of
Love it.
something,
All
something.
natural,
So,
baby.
in the California desert in Death Valley, there's a strange phenomenon that has baffled scientists for decades. And stones sitting on a dry lake bed seemingly move on their own, leaving trails behind them. No one moved these rocks, yet some of them move almost 200 feet a day by themselves.
Oh, I feel like I've heard about this.
I have not.
Yeah, they're called the sailing stones. They're called the Death Valley sailing stones.
Yeah.
And they move on their own. They're rocks that,
You can like see the trail behind
yeah,
it, can't you? Of like where it's been
yeah,
moving. Yeah.
you can see the trail that's behind them. There's a couple theories as why they move. Some of them,
Guess one before you
you can
say.
guess them, yeah. What do you think?
Doesn't it get really cold and could it get windy in a desert? I don't.
No, but
It's a
these are
little
like
windy.
big rocks. It's not like pebbles where like the wind
Oh,
like can blow it
they're
away.
like
These are
big
like
rocks.
boulders that
They're
like
like the
move.
size of my
Oh,
laptop, kind of.
Oh, I
that's
thought
not
they were
that
even
big.
bigger than that.
They could be bigger. They probably could be bigger. Just based on, I know move, and based on the real reason why they move, yeah, it could be boulders. Yeah.
So tell us the real reason why they move.
Yeah, because I don't know.
Enlighten
There's
us.
a couple theories I want to go into first.
Oh, let's go into the
So,
theories first. Can I guess?
yeah,
Can I guess one?
yeah, you both can guess one.
Isn't
I
there a
too.
thing from like SpongeBob of like driving a rock or a boulder or something? I never watched SpongeBob because my
The
parents cared
pioneers
about
used
my
to ride these
intelligence.
babies
But
for miles.
yeah, wasn't there a thing of like some meme of like riding a boulder or a rock or something? Is that a thing or am I crazy?
No, you're telling the truth.
What?
Yeah, I think I've seen memes of like the rocks in California like compared to that.
Yeah, have you ever seen the episode, the pizza delivery episode in SpongeBob, where SpongeBob drives a boulder?
Like delivering pizza from the Krusty Krab for the first time?
Yeah,
No.
you accurately
I don't-
described you said the entire
I
plot of the
don't-
episode, and then go, no, I've never heard of it before.
I don't remember like that specific.
You mean the episode that SpongeBob delivered the pizza? Yeah. No, I don't remember that one at all.
No, I don't remember that one.
I created a Snapchat picture of like that little clip from that episode where he's walking in like the snow going uphill with Squidward and he's like Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza.
Yeah, that's from the
Krusty
episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but
there's a
I
lot of
don't
memes from that episode.
I don't remember
Yeah.
that scene exactly.
So
Anyway, so that
your
was my
Gavin?
theory. That
That's
was
your
my theory.
that SpongeBob is driving.
I
all these
also have
rocks
not seen that episode, but that's my theory. I because I think I've seen memes about it. But so my theory is that SpongeBob's driving those rocks through the desert.
I guess you're kind of close.
Mine's that the rock has little legs.
Oh, I like that theory.
It just kind
Also,
of makes
I
it
mean,
cute.
kind
so.
of
I can't
that
tell
might.
whether it's cute or like creepy. Like if it's more than
No, but
like
like little
a
legs.
few legs. But then that could be like, what if it's like a giant like centipede rock? If it's more than like a few legs, that tips into creepy.
Thinking like 5 legs, maybe.
I
But
can
okay,
dig
what's the theories or what?
So
What
the
do you
theories
have,
that
Chris?
the theories that I found is that some think that the rocks might move because of wind, like the wind is blowing the rocks, but there's big rocks that are moving, so that doesn't really work. Another thing that people think of is like vibrations in the Earth's crust. Like if the Earth moves a little bit, then the rocks kind of move a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people thought it was. But recently, scientists have actually found out the reason. What's up, Leah? What do you think?
But is Death Valley near a fault line?
Is it near a fault line? I mean, California itself is kind of like a big.
No,
fault.
I know California
Yeah.
because it's San Andreas Fault, but like, is Death Valley like near a fault line to be able to create that shift in the rocks?
Is that your theory?
I guess it's a question and a theory.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of earthquakes that happen in California.
There is a Death Valley fault zone. Is a right lateral moving geologic fault in Eastern California that runs right near Death Valley. So I think there is.
So that would be my guess.
It's a good guess. So people thought it was until
Mhm.
recently. Scientists have found out why they actually move. And what happens
How?
is, if it ever rains, which doesn't happen a lot, but if it rains the day before, the lake bed, it's very flat. It kind of fills up with this really thin layer of water that gets under the rock. And then at night, because it gets really cold, it freezes. The water freezes at night. And so when the water thaws during the day, the ice pushes the rocks as across the desert. So they actually figured this out because there was this guy that built a fake rock with a GoPro on it and like recorded it moving, and you could actually see like the rock moving over the course of the day.
I love that he built a fake rock as opposed to just putting a GoPro on one of the real rocks.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess
He didn't want to interfere. I get it.
He didn't want
Yeah.
to interfere with the nature. And then he noticed it was like, oh, the rock only moved after it rained. So that's kind of funny. Why would a rock move when it rains?
Interesting.
And then they found out it's
Cool.
because of really, really thin ice that melts during the day because it gets really hot. And then
So
they
I was
said,
right
like,
with the cold weather,
hmm?
at least, right? Was I a little right? Because didn't I say like earlier, like, oh, it gets really cold in the desert at night?
Did you say that?
Yeah.
If you did, I mean,
I
you're
thought I
right.
did.
Yeah. Which is
Something
why
Am
like
I
I
on the
said,
right
like,
path?
I
think
said
you said at
both
the
of you
beginning,
were kind of right in your theories because Gavin said SpongeBob was moving and SpongeBob lives in water and he moved his rock on his own. And that's how it
Okay.
worked. And then
Connect that.
Leah said it was little legs on the bottom of the rocks, and I guess ice could be little legs that move the thing.
Okay.
Yeah. They said it's like the reason this doesn't happen all over the place is because certain little things have to happen in order for the rock to move and for there to be a little thin layer of ice, and this only kind of happens in this area, and that's why the rocks are moving in Death Valley. Like that's why it's like the Death Valley sailing stones instead of just the sailing stone phenomenon. It's like the Death Valley sailing stones phenomenon.
I've never seen a picture of that actually, so I definitely have to look it up.
Cool. Okay, so the last location that I have like a lot of information on. The other ones are rapid fire, but this is the last kind of big one. It's one of the very few on this list that can actually be seen from space. This is a phenomenon that can be seen from space, which is weird because you can see it from space, but we didn't actually know it really existed until 2005, even though we kind of knew about it before. So it's called the Milky Seas, and it's the Milky Seas is off the coast of Somalia in the Indian Ocean, and it's a very common sailor story from like old when people used to sail around that area. The sailors told stories that if they sailed in this particular stretch of ocean, that the water would glow from under the ship, and you could see from horizon to horizon just glowing water, glowing bioluminescent water that was around the area.
That's cool.
So like people found it, that people knew this existed, but they didn't scientifically prove that it existed until 2005. And part of the reason that they didn't, what's up, Leah?
Oh, is it algae?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
It's bioluminescent bacteria.
Oh, that's cool.
I think
I've
I've heard about that.
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Oh.
It does look like super cool.
If you like disturb it, they like glow, and it's cool. They do it to attract fish because they want fish to eat them because then they can thrive in like the bellies of fish and stuff.
Interesting.
The reason science didn't know about it was because they didn't think that organisms like the bioluminescent bacteria who created this bioluminescent glow could be in the same place doing the same thing so crowded together and on such a big large area. Like science didn't think that that was possible, but they were wrong because it did happen. And it wasn't until 2005 when a scientist named Steve Miller thought, what if a light sensing satellite could see like a bioluminescent glow? So he started Googling, like he used Google, and he started Googling.
He used Google?
Yeah, he used Google to figure this out. So he started Googling and read a report from a ship in 1995 called the SS Lima, where they said that the ocean glowed from horizon to horizon. And he matched the description of the report to a satellite, and he found from the satellite an area of the ocean roughly the size of Connecticut glowing with this bacteria. So it's huge. Like think Connecticut, like it takes like a couple hours to drive from one side of Connecticut to the other. And that's how big this space was of this glowing bacteria. And you could see it from space. So, and then this is kind of cool. This is really cool. Scientists estimate that the amount of bacteria it would take to cover a space the size of Connecticut is around 40 billion trillion bacteria. So 40 billion trillion bacteria. So in other words, if every bacteria was a grain of sand, it would cover the entire Earth, like the entire Earth, in 10 centimeters of sand.
Wow.
Yo, that's a lot of Earths.
A lot of bacteria.
That's a lot of bacteria. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It'd be really pretty to go there because I've seen like videos on Instagram of people walking through it, and it looks gorgeous. Honestly, I'd love to go, and I'd have a blast.
I see people like
It does look
sailing
super
and
cool.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
It's
you can see it.
gorgeous.
I think you could see it a lot of places in the world, but it's not so concentrated. Like this is like you're in a boat and you're in this water and you look all the way in front of you, all the way next to you, all the way behind you, and you're surrounded by this from horizon to horizon, surrounded by this glowing water.
That's so pretty, though.
It must be so weird to be. I wonder who was the first people to, or like, because you said, when did you say that they discovered it? Really?
Well, people always knew about it.
Yeah.
Because you would sail in that area. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
The book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, they had like glowing bacteria. Like they had the Milky Seas, like a description of what the Milky Seas were in the book. And that was written way before they even scientifically proved that it was a real thing. So people knew it was real. They just didn't know it was real. It's kind of like the whole thing with like the black hole. Like we knew black holes existed, but it didn't take until last year to find like an actual photo of one. So this is the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like it must be so weird. Like before it was like technically founded or like defined that like to just be vibing in it, and people are like, "Yo, what is this?" And you're like, "Glowy stuff." I don't even know.
Glowy stuff, man.
It's the stuff that's inside the what is it that a lot of people
Glow
have at
sticks.
parties. The glow it's
Glow
like
sticks?
that. Yeah. It's like
Yeah, exactly. Someone's like, "Yo, they just dumped a bunch of glow sticks into this
exactly.
river." What is it? What is it? Is it like a lake or a river? Or is it just like up water?
It's just
like what?
It's in the Indian Ocean.
Oh,
it's just a patch of ocean
Oh,
that's
okay.
really glowy.
That's what I always find interesting. The pieces of ocean that like are their own, either like color or like how they don't all get mixed up. Like there's got to be an edge to this bacteria. Does it just kind of fade out, or is there a very? I mean, you don't know you might not know the answer to this, but is there a very obvious edge to it? That's what I'm curious about. That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
I think water sometimes also has different like we said pH, and some has more salt than like different type of concentrations of different amounts. So I think that's like there's one place in the world where two oceans meet, but they never merge together because one is so high in sodium while the other has a smaller amount. So it might be like that. I'm not really sure though, but that'd be really interesting to find out like what happens to it.
So that's another place on the list of places we need to go when we're discovering all these natural phenomena.
I'd definitely go to that.
You would go to this one. I was about to say, and Leah will stay in the boat. No, this one. I mean, it sounds harmless and not that scary. It's just kind of glow. I think it'd be really cool.
It is cool.
It'd be really sick. Yeah.
Swirl around the glow stick water.
So we go from. Let me try to transition here. We're gonna go to one place that we really transition. Want to go to. What? This is a good transition here. So
this is fantastic. This is going so well. I'm so sorry.
So you said you wanted to go to the Milky Seas. You don't want to go to the next place that's on this list.
Oh my goodness! Well, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Now I want to know what it is.
This is another thing. You're gonna criticize transition. You're gonna criticize me. This isn't a natural phenomenon. This is just also kind of cool.
Oh, blasphemy! You know what? I'll take it. We'll get it.
Right. So this town it's in Pennsylvania. It's a small town in Pennsylvania called Centralia, where there was a bunch of coal mines. So it's a big coal mining town, and someone accidentally started a coal fire, and it's been burning nonstop ever since. And it got so bad that the entire town had to be evacuated, and now the town sits as a ghost town in Pennsylvania.
Oh, I think I've heard about this ghost town in Pennsylvania. I didn't realize I feel like I've heard about like a ghost town in Pennsylvania, but I didn't realize it was because of A coal fire. Is it like still a burning thing, or is it just that the air there is currently so toxic?
No, it's still burning. Like the streets will smoke sometimes.
That's kind of like the
coal
gates of
fire
hell,
will
like that we
burn.
talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the gates. People stop lighting stuff on fire.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
use
really.
fire. Please don't.
Really?
Like, let the pros handle the fire, you know?
Yeah, just stop lighting stuff on fire. Because then it's like a town. Like that's a whole town, and people had to get up and go. And like if you look at pictures if you look up on Google Maps or Google Earth or something, Centralia, it still shows up because people still live there. Like just on the outskirts where it's still like safe to live. But like
Mhm.
you can see like streets and houses that are like falling apart because no one's been in there for years. I don't know how long, but because they had to move out and everyone had to go.
Would you guys go to Ghost Town?
I would love to go to a ghost town.
I would like to this specific ghost town that has like toxic
any.
air, or just a
To
ghost
any.
town. I would go to a
You'd go.
ghost town to just see kind of abandoned buildings and stuff. I wouldn't go alone. I would go with like other people. But yeah, I think
Mhm.
that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I also don't know how many like ghost towns there are that are just like out there.
I feel like there's a few in the desert and stuff like that.
Yeah. But
I
it's also
know
interesting of like in
there's a lot.
Pennsylvania, the fact that there's this
Mhm.
like now ghost town that people didn't just abandon it, they were like forced out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Damn,
Chernobyl,
that's
though.
nuts.
They were forced out of their town. Like millions of people had to evacuate. I'd be like the scared one. I'd be Shaggy, and I'd be like
Skeptic.
clinging on to like you guys and be like,
Your
oh,
dog? One of your dogs?
my dog. No, but I'd like be scared and stuff. But I'd go.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh no, yeah, it'd be fun. But yeah. Anyway, are we now doing rapid fire now, Chris?
Yeah.
Well, I guess. I mean, I said rapid fire because I just don't have enough information on these places. Just because what can you talk about? It's a town that's on fire. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Short story. That's it.
What else can you say? So the next place, this is kind of cool. This is also in Antarctica. I don't want to say any false information, but I feel like this is around the same kind of area as Blood Falls, but I don't know for sure. But there's a valley in Antarctica where the winds in the area make it so no precipitation can stick to the ground. So the only precipitation comes in the form of snow, but it blows away by, I'm going to butcher this, by the katabatic winds. So I'm going to say that wrong again, but the katabatic winds, what it is it's winds that go from like the top of mountains to down and over. So it goes like, ooh, like it goes from the top of the mountain.
It goes woo.
Yeah, it goes from the top of the mountains into the like down to the valley and then out. Like it kind of like makes an L shape, and so those are katabatic winds. And what happens is when it snows, it just gets blown away by these winds, and then the snow gets packed into like the glaciers and stuff. So this means that the last time it actually rained there, so not snowed, but the last time it rained there was around 2 million years ago. So no rain has fallen in these valleys for 2 million years.
Oh, well, that's strange.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know what to say. That's weird.
I like rain. I'd be upset if I didn't have any rain. And like, that's kind of why I like Ithaca, because it's like always cloudy and raining, and I like the weather.
Vibe.
It's a vibe. It's like a stay in your PJs, have hot cocoa or tea, read a book, watch Netflix, and order pizza or Chipotle.
Especially it being Antarctica. So then does it never snow either?
Well, it snows, but it doesn't stick because it gets blown away by the winds.
Oh, is it just that the winds are so powerful enough that's why it doesn't rain?
It could be from like maybe the mountains have a reason why. I didn't really.
Yeah. No, it's a quick one. We're in the rapid fire round.
Yeah.
We don't have as much information.
It reminds me of in Argentina. There's the Atacama Desert something. There's a desert.
Yeah.
In Argentina. I butchered that, which is weird because I did a project on it in high school. But there's parts of the desert that it's not even that it didn't rain in 2 million years. It just never rained there. They have not found any evidence that any rain has ever hit those deserts at all. Like in the history of the earth, it has not rained in that desert.
Well, that's cool. Weird.
Weird, but cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Okay, and I have one more. So there's a beach in Mexico that's only accessible by helicopter or by swimming through a small opening in where the tide comes in. So it's about 6 feet from the top to the bottom, and you have to swim through this little cave. And it was made when Mexico was testing some bombs, and they made a crater so big that eventually the tide came in and created a small beach, and it was like a paradise away from the hustle and bustle of the other beaches. But while it's still a popular known destination, so everybody kind of knows about it because it got famous on the internet and stuff. But before the internet, no one knew about it, so it was kind of like, yeah, this is my private beach. And so now it's kind of known by tourism and stuff, but still it's so hard to get there that normally people don't even venture there. So it's like your own private beach. And it was created because people wanted to drop bombs on an island, and they made a crater, and it just filled up by the tide. And so now there's a beach there.
Interesting. I mean, it's better than bombing where people live, but so then it's not technically natural. Like then that was part, like, yeah, stuff like that where it's not purposely made, but it's like it just kind of happened because of humans doing something. That's also interesting. I feel like that's its own category in and of itself.
It
Of
could
then like
be.
not like Mount Rushmore, like people purposefully doing stuff, but like these ones that you've kind of talked about that are like almost accidental phenomenons.
Yeah. Well, I thought that they were cool enough to kind of be like, well, I know that they're not natural, and I know that I did say that they were a natural Earth phenomenon. But I just thought that they were kind of like, wow, that's interesting. And that's like, it's weird that there's places on Earth that are like this.
Yeah.
Like Centralia, where there's a town that's literally abandoned because there's a fire going on under the streets. Like, that's weird.
Yeah,
That's not normal.
I mean, it's fair.
That's scary to think about, though.
I get it.
That there's fire underneath your streets.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true, because, like, inner core, outer core, mantle, crust kind of thing. So, like, yeah, there is fire underneath our streets, but
not, like, under the streets, though. Like,
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
saying, like, you dig up the street and there's flames. Like, that, there's smoke coming up from the street. Like, that shouldn't normally happen in a town.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about our favorites? Some final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to hear your favorite stuff.
All right, I'll go first because I like to hear my own voice. The Blue Lagoon of Buxton, I think, was really interesting, especially how they kind of solved it and wanted to stop people from going to it. I feel like that was really interesting. And I think a solid second place, if not tied for first for me, would be the Milky Seas with the bacteria. I think that was also really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, those are cool.
My top 3 had to be the Gateway to Hell, just because, like, come on. Like, really?
Yeah, that's a cool one.
To light a match? But that was really cool. It was a really cool photo. My other top 2, like Gavin said, was the Milky Seas. Just because I've seen photos. It looks gorgeous, and I want to go. But then the other one that I've been to is the one at Grand Central Station, the Whispering Gallery in Grand Central.
Whispering Gallery.
It's just really cool. Like, to just be on one side of a room and hear your friend, like, they're practically right next to you.
Yeah, sound, the whole science of sound and how sound travels. We could probably do a whole episode on that. I feel like there's so many different things with sound. Chris, what are some of your favorites out of this? I mean, obviously, there's so many Earth phenomenons in general that you narrowed this down. So these obviously must be ranking on the list at some point. But if you had to pick a few of these to point out,
if I can pick 3 that are like, I really like the 3. I really like Devil's Kettle.
Yes, Devil's Kettle is super cool.
Really cool that half the river goes in this one place and no one knows where it goes. Like, people still don't even know, even though they know where it goes, they don't know what happens in the water.
Yeah.
It's cool. They don't know how it gets to where it goes. I really like Blood Falls because that's kind of cool. That, like, it's a bloody.
I was going to mention that one too. Yeah, that one's really cool.
It's really cool. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite is probably the Catatumbo Lightning because it's like it's a never-ending lightning storm.
That is crazy.
Really cool.
I feel like that one's the only weather. Is that one the only weather-related one here?
Well, I guess technically the dry valleys of Antarctica are pretty weather-related.
True. Yeah. No, all of these are super cool. I wouldn't be opposed to doing another type of list like this, looking at different Earth-like stuff. This was all super cool. Yeah. I guess we can make this the ending also.
We could make this the ending. I ran out of stuff to
This
talk
could be
about.
the ending. We'll bring up the music. Chris, thanks for researching all of this. This is a lot. When we do a delve in onto one topic, you know, you do a lot of reading about one thing, but having to look into all these different things, and that's a lot of research. This was very cool. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Hopefully we do a part 2 because this is really cool.
I'd love to do a part 2, whether it's, or maybe potentially we could look at man-made ones, more like that. I feel like there's got to be so many of those,
That'd
or
be
like
fun.
unintentional, accidental ones.
Unintentional.
Oh, there's
That
so
would
many
also be cool.
people are dumb.
Yeah, no, humanity has made a lot of
Straight
mistakes
up,
and really
man.
impacted
Straight
the
up.
earth in a negative way, for sure. But yeah, anyway, that's the episode. Rate and review this wherever you're listening to it. We got to start promoting that now. If you're enjoying these on Apple Podcasts, you can rate and review it, and you know, download the
Wherever
episode.
you get your podcast.
Well, you can't. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts. That's why I say that. You can't rate and review on Spotify or other places.
Oh, you
It's okay.
can?
No, I don't think you can. This is available wherever you get your podcasts. But
Yeah,
if you want to rate and
that.
review it, you can do it on Apple Podcasts. Download it. Tell your friends about it. If you have any ideas, DM us. We're very open. We talk about a lot of random things, as you can tell, all over the place.
And we love going off script.
Oh, we love going off script.
Off script.
Off script.
Love that, for sure. Well,
But
that's
thank
the
you for
episode.
listening.
Thank you for listening. See you next week.
Have a good day.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. If you want more of This Strange World, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at This Strange World Podcast and on Twitter at This Strange Pod. Now it's time for the sources. When I get close to the microphone, because none of this is original information. We all got this from somewhere. We did not, contrary to popular belief, we did not make any of these natural phenomenons from Earth. Or maybe Chris did. I don't know, but he'll let us know in the sources section. Chris, where did you get your sources from?
A lot of my sources came from this one YouTube channel, which I highly suggest you check out. They do a lot of stuff that we do, strange world stuff. It's called Atlas Obscura. They have a lot of stuff that I got a lot of their stuff from. The Devil's Kettle, where I got Devil's Kettle from, that was the Devil's Kettle Atlas Obscura video. The Blue Lagoon of Buxton, that also came from an Atlas Obscura video. The Great Blue Hole, or Dean's Blue Hole, that came from Belize.com. I think that's their website. Belize.com. The Great Belize Blue Hole. Blood Falls came from Atlas Obscura also. That was their video, Atlas Obscura. Gateway of Hell, that came from the Gateway to Hell Wikipedia page. That's where I got that from.
That's okay. We like Wikipedia. It's reliable enough.
Yeah.
If we were in class and we used Wiki, we'd get a smack in the face.
True. To any professors listening, we don't use, maybe. We looked at it, we glanced at it. Anyway, continue.
Catatumbo Lightning, that came from Atlas Obscura's video of the Everlasting Lightning Storm. And another YouTube video called Weatherwise Catatumbo Lightning from this weather guy from somewhere. He had a really cool video about how the weather took place there. Centralia, Pennsylvania. That also came from an Atlas Obscura video. There's a lot of Atlas Obscura in here.
That's
Milky
fine.
Seas.
That's a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
All of the links for these will be listed in the description if you want to check them out.
A lot of these came from that. Milky Seas came from Sea of Stars, Vadhu Island, Maldives. That was from Wonderworld. There was also a Atlas Obscura video that was talking about the Milky Seas in general. That was where I got the one that was the size of Connecticut. That was from Atlas Obscura too. But the Sea of Stars came from about the bioluminescence and all that stuff. Whispering Galley and Grand Central Station, that came from Grand Central Station's Wikipedia page. Death Valley Sliding Stones came from earthsky.org. What moves Death Valley Sliding Stones? The Hidden Beach in Mexico came from whenonearth.net. It was called Hidden Beach in Marietta Islands in Mexico. That's it. So thanks for listening. everybody.
Long list of sources. That's good. We give credit where credit's due. Leah, anything to say? Final thoughts?
Don't play with matches, kids. Okay.
Yes, that's how you open the gateway to hell, or that one ghost town in Pennsylvania.
Right, exactly.
All right, well, this is the epilogue of the show. This is it. Let's go. It's over. Go home. Listen to another episode.
Listen to more episodes.
Yes, this is episode 12, I believe. We got tons more, and we got tons more coming. We got so many ideas. Subscribe.
So much.
Do it.
So much coming. But, there'll be a new episode next week. It'll be me talking. So, whoop-de-doo.
You love the sound of your voice, Gavin.
I love the sound of my voice. And my headphones, I can hear my voice in my headphones. Perfect. This is perfect for me. Podcasting. Bye.
Be safe. Bye.